I mean, I just sometimes have to sit back and just thank God for having the best life ever. Tonight, I went out with two of my buddies who were in town in Scottsdale, and just for the three of us, the dinner was probably $1,000. I split it with one of my buddies, so I spent maybe $500 plus tip. And I'm just thinking back to 3 years when I had never even really been to a steakhouse before in my entire life, or I couldn't even think of going to a fancy restaurant in my entire life. And now, I mean, it's almost once or twice a week. I'm going to a super, super fancy restaurant, getting like an incredible steak, doing absolutely everything that I could have ever have dreamed of. I don't know how my life got here so quickly and how fantastic it actually is. I think one of the biggest myths is you are not happy with more money. Everyone always says, "Oh, if you have money, you're miserable." It's not like I have FU money, not even close to it, but I'm making enough to have complete freedom. And my life is amazing. It is 100 times better than I could have ever have dreamed of. If I told myself when I was 18 years old, where I'd be now, where I'm 21, I would spit in my face. I wouldn't believe him. I mean, my life is so much better now than I could have ever hoped. It's so, so great how fortunate I am. I mean, I remember when I was 17, 18 years old. I'm being reminded because I was talking about it today with someone else that I work with, this guy, George, that I was reaching out to a few dozen people a week to ask to work for them for free. And there was two people in particular out of the probably three, 400 that I texted or emailed, somehow found their email. Anytime I listened to a podcast with someone, I'd somehow find their email, their LinkedIn, their Twitter, and I would send them a message saying, "Hey, I'll work for you for free." Then after about a month of that not working, getting no responses, I was saying, "Hey, I'll pay you to work for you." Then I was, "Hey, I'll pay you a percentage of whatever I make after working for you for the following 10 years. So if you believe in yourself to teach a dumb motherfucker like me, then I'll pay you 10% of my earnings for the next 10 years." And I still didn't get anything. But there were two people in particular that did respond and at least give me the time of day. This guy, Jim Leitner, who was a super famous hedge fund manager, and this guy, Leslie Harris, who was worked at a massive hedge fund as well. And it was just the law of large numbers. I knew that it was inevitable that I would make it work at some point. The way that I did it is I realized I didn't provide value to anyone, and it was unlikely that anyone was going to take me on as an apprentice. So I got some skin in the game. Literally, I got a tattoo of this guy George's logo on my leg. And at that point, I was 18. I was a senior in high school. I'd never once been on a plane in my entire life. And I flew from Boston to Arizona to meet him after I got the freaking logo tattooed on my leg. And ever since then, my life has changed in every single aspect. The people I'm hanging out with are better friends than I ever could have imagined. The quality of life that I have is better than I even knew was possible. I honestly didn't know how great life could be. And everyone at that time said I was so stupid. I was getting molested. I was joining a Ponzi scheme. I was joining a cult. The worst things that you could possibly hear. That's what was being said. And then for the following 6 months, whenever I had an opportunity that was crazy and I took it, people were saying that I was gonna die and all these things. And my life just continued to get better and better. Every single time someone said that I was a crazy person for doing something, and the more crazy they thought I was, the better of a outcome actually resulted at the end. And that's the only reason why I am where I am today. I mean, it's so I gotta freaking just thank God every single day for how great life is. I mean, I'm driving a car that is the coolest freaking car in the entire world. I didn't even know this car existed, and it's cooler than any dream car that I ever would have fathomed. If you don't know, it's a 1957 Porsche Speedster. One of the guys that I work with, because I'm making him a ton of money, He gave it to me to drive while I'm in Arizona, and he's letting me stay in this place for free. For free. I'm driving a one of the coolest cars of all time for free and staying in an apartment where I don't have to pay rent and I get paid. I mean, and I'm starting a business with him. How great is life? I definitely can promise you guys that a few years of hard work compounds so much. I remember when I was also 18, I would hear quotes and I was sticking to it that said, You wildly overestimate what you can accomplish in 1 year, but it's uncomprehensible how much you underestimate how much you can accomplish in 3 years. And I'm just about at that 3 year mark. And I couldn't imagine how much I've accomplished. So it makes me much more excited for the next 3 years because I told Ken that from this, what we're going to do, I said, I threw out the biggest freaking number I could think of, four or $500,000 per month is what we'll be doing. Is what I told him. And I said, I'll figure it out. Don't worry, just let me handle it. Ken said, okay, I trust you. Now it just comes down to myself and doing it, which I have 100% confidence in myself. Throughout every single one of those situations, I thought, okay, I never once thought of it as a failure. Someone yesterday asked, oh, well, what if your business fails? And I would never once think of it as a failure. There's a bunch of like the way my business has evolved has been failing a bunch of times, but not a singular time I lost money. I thought that I was failing because I don't look at it that way. I think of it more as learning to get the best possible skill set humanly possible. I mean, I've lost a boatload of money doing a lot of stupid things that I thought were potentially going to help me grow, which didn't. But I didn't question it for a second. Just you shoot first, you trust your ability to make it happen, and then you figure it out later. And it's taken my life so far. I I just think I got to work a hell of a lot harder so I can keep this up because it's so great. It's so great living this way. People always say that rich people are miserable. I now hang out with a lot of super rich dudes. None of them are miserable. None of them. They're all super happy. They do whatever they want to every single day. Who would be upset doing that? Now, you do have to have some sort of purpose. You absolutely do. If I had a ton of money and I didn't want to work every single day, I would be miserable. Absolutely. But because I still want to work every day and I work out religiously multiple times a day, I mean, I'm loving life. I'm absolutely loving life. And then, even if you aren't, just psych yourself into it. I've always had the ability to just turn a bad thing into a good thing. There was actually, I'm not going to say it on a YouTube video because my mom watches these, but when me and my old buddies, or when our business was blown up, there were some things that happened that could have easily looked at as very, very bad. It was some very bad things that happened. And that night, after everything happened, I just said, great, I want to get out the business anyway. Let's find something else to do. And I would go into more details, but I'd have to find a way to block my mom from watching these videos. And I know I'll get a text tomorrow, but screw you, mom. Uh, Stop sharing these videos with everyone. Anyway, good night. Goodbye.